1.
I've been a person who never was sure what to believe when it related to ghosts, but my experience has boggled my mind. I was around 12 or so, and my cousin, my brother, and I were all hanging out in our family room watching movies. It was like midnight, and my mom had been in bed for a few hours. I looked up and saw, at least what I thought was, my mom walk past the entryway to the family room. From the living room to the kitchen. My brother even called out, "Hey Mom," but no response. She just walked right past without acknowledging us and into the kitchen and out of view. She was wearing a long, flowing whitish nightgown. Keep in mind the entire house is pitch black except for the light of the TV. A couple seconds later, we were wondering what was going on, so we got up and glanced into the kitchen. Nothing. Just darkness. We started freaking out, and all three ran down the hallway, through the living room, and burst into her room. She was lying in bed, passed out. We woke her up and asked if she was just in the kitchen. She leaned up to figure out what was happening, and she was wearing blue pajamas, not a white nightgown. We freaked out. I didn't know what to think. There's a door that connects the kitchen to her room, but that door was always wedged shut, and it would make a loud creaking/scraping noise if it was opened. No one used that door. We were up and heading towards her room in a matter of seconds. She wouldn't have had time to walk past, shove open and close that door, and change her clothes. We have no idea who or what we saw past that kitchen that night. I would have convinced myself I was seeing things, but my brother called her name. He saw it too. It's been over 10 years. I'm 24 years old, and the thought still gives me weird goosebumps, and for some reason I start to tear up when I think too much about it. I'm an intellectual and a rational person, but if you ask me if I believe in ghosts, I can't comfortably say no.
Number 2.
Back when I lived in Ethiopia, the weekend I turned 11, I went to a lake resort place with my mom and my then 20-year-old cousin. So we stayed at an old hotel, built when the emperor was still around. So then, the creepy stuff happens. I was asleep through most of it, and this is my cousin's account of it. We stayed in a bungalow, so there was a hallway with doors on either side. My cousin slept in the room opposite my mom and I. So my cousin says he fell asleep and woke up in the middle of the night and saw a young lady at his door. In his half-asleep state, he mumbled, "Who are you?" She didn't answer. He asked her what she was doing, and again, she doesn't answer. She just stares at him. So the girl starts turning away and closing the door. My cousin jumps from his bed and throws the door open. At the same moment he opened his door, my mom opened hers, and the hallway was empty. So my cousin and my mom just stare at each other, and my mom says, "A girl came into mine and my daughter's room and turned on the lights and just stood there." The next morning, I woke up to hear my mom arguing with my cousin. My cousin was hysterical, saying that the girl was a demon, while my mom, more rational, was saying that it was probably a girl who got drunk and was looking for her boyfriend or something. So I got filled in on what I had missed that day. I'm wandering around the beach and see my cousin talking to a young man who I presumed worked at the hotel. I go up to see them, and the young man is talking about how these kinds of things are known to happen at the hotel. He said that at one point, some guy disappeared for several months and resurfaced in a village near the lake suffering from amnesia. 8 years later, I recently asked both my mom and my cousin about it. I don't think they're messing with me, although my mom maintains that it probably wasn't a ghost or a demon. My cousin thinks that the girl was at both his and mine and my mom's room simultaneously, hence him opening the door at the same time as my mom. I think I should add that the door to the bungalow was locked. The hotel was called Bekel Mola, and it was on Lake Lingano, for anyone interested.
Number 3.
I used to babysit at this really nice house that was about a 30-minute drive from the nearest town. About 15 of those miles were on random gravel roads, so it was pretty isolated. A well-known billionaire in the community built that house when he started making his money. He was a really tough guy who basically put his business before his wife and family. Later on in life, as his health was declining, he began to regret that. It was too late though, as he had burned the bridges with most of his children. I only know this because my dad employed his mentally challenged daughter and had become close with his wife. Anyway, he died, and I shit you not, he was haunting the house he built. I was at this house at least a couple times a week, and really freaky stuff started happening as soon as he died. The dog, who was normally pretty chill, refused to come inside for weeks and would just run around the house in a panic. He'd stand outside the window of an empty room and just bark and growl like crazy. The 2-year-old started saying that he was scared all the time and would get up in the middle of the night to check on his baby brother. He had never done that before. There were 2 things that really scared me though. It was really late, probably 2 a.m., and the phone started ringing. But not in the normal way. Like it was a constant ring instead of a ring and then a pause. When I tried to answer it, there was just this clicking noise, and as soon as I'd hung up, they'd all start ringing again. The screen on the phone didn't change either. It didn't register that there was an incoming call at all. It just kept displaying the time and number of missed calls. I had to go and manually turn the ringer volume off on each phone so it wouldn't wake the boys up. The second thing that scared me was I heard something in the main living room and assumed that the older boy had woken up. As I was getting up to check, I heard a crash. When I got there, a tall vase holding some fake plants was on the ground, and there was no one in the room. The boys were both in bed and the dog was asleep in the garage. I know it kind of sounds ridiculous, but these things legitimately happened. Even if it didn't though, the way I felt when I was in the house would have had me convinced that it was haunted. I have never felt so on edge in my life. It's like I couldn't relax. Come with me. They both felt the same way about it too.